Thank you so much for joining us for the first in a series of webinars designed to bring value to your business. Our speaker today is Peter Beaumont, Business Advisor with the Resultants. Peter has worked with Fortune 500 companies such as Coca-Cola, Philip Morris, McDonald's, Intel, and Wrigley across 5 continents and in over 60 countries. His primary roles included general management, strategic marketing, and client services, and he has cited his diverse experiences as the #1 reason he and his clients are able to quickly adapt to changing cultures, economies, and obstacles. In 2018, Peter partnered with the Resultants, a leading Twin Cities business advisory firm. As a business advisor, Peter advocates for the best interest of your business, using a process that has proven time and time again to help companies build value and achieve personal and professional success. My name is Katie. I'm the marketing manager with the Resultants, and I'll be helping Peter out with the presentation today. And now I will hand it over to you, Peter.
Thanks, Katie. And I shall need all the help I can get, so I'm glad you're here. Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming and attending this webinar, if you like. The first in the series that we'll be presenting, which are called Small Business Solutions, which we are designing to help you look at your business a little differently, maybe alter course, and as we return to the new normal, plan to move further, faster, and thrive and sustain over time. Some years ago, a friend of mine told me a story about when he had worked with 2 different clients in similar industries. Jim and Molly were growing at roughly the same pace, increasing year after year, when there was a sudden halt to their success. Jim pulled himself out of working in the business and started to focus more on the business, and was able to identify and work through the various issues he had listed. Molly, on the other hand, stayed mired working in the business, and she just continued doing the same thing. Fast track to several years later, and my friend told me that Jim now enjoys regular vacations in Florida, whereas Molly is still working those 70-hour weeks. So what happened that these 2 similar businesses went 2 completely different directions? Well, Jim decided to implement a process that addressed the most important issues he'd listed, whereas Molly just kept doing what she'd always done. So what's the point of that story? Well, it occurred to me when I was told it that all businesses do hit the ceiling or max out at some point. They've used all their resources and they're unsatisfied. This is particularly important to everyone in this webinar because do you know what percentage of businesses fail within the first 5 years? Well, I can't hear you, but I'm sure you got the figure right. It's somewhere between 50 and 70%. And that's 50% is probably the best scenario I've seen. So how can we avoid becoming part of that statistic? Every business faces a crossroads at some point. The leaders or owners look to the future and they know where they want to be, but they don't always know how they're going to get there. They're doing fine, or maybe not so fine, but they are surviving. They've seen the future they've dreamed of, the one where the business is thriving, and they move on with confidence. But they really don't have any idea exactly how they're going to get there and make that vision a reality. And time is slipping away. So it's important to start with the end in mind, because you need to know where you want to go as an owner, where do you want to end up, and what that destination is. The answer will inform you how you need to build value within your company. To build value, we have to follow a process. It can't just happen on its own, especially if we don't want to be one of those 50% businesses that fail within the first 5 years. I think you'll find what we'll discuss today can be a key part of your plans. Are you bringing in more income than expenses? Are your sales higher than they've ever been? Those are great ways to determine if your business is valuable, but ask yourself this: can I take a vacation in a Wi-Fi free zone? In other words, be disconnected. Or if my biggest customer or account left, would I survive? Though your financials may look great now, there are many other factors to take into consideration when setting your long-term goal. After years of extensive research, John Warrilow concluded there are 8 key drivers of company value, and you can see them now. To date, Warrilow's Value Builder system has surveyed over 30,000 businesses and he's come to the conclusion that those 8 drivers, which we'll go into in detail next, can significantly impact the value of your company. These 8 drivers are not revolutionary ideas, but it's the combining of them that can really help accelerate your company performance. This webinar is not intended to build value for your company just so you can sell it. We've found that having a more valued company means more owner freedom, happier employees, profitability, and security for whenever you may be ready to move on to something new. Now let's get into reviewing the 8 value drivers. What do we know about Switzerland, apart from it's the centre of Europe and has great ski slopes? Well, it's an independent country that is obsessed with remaining neutral. It didn't become part of the UN until 2002, one of the last partners in that group, and it remained out of both world wars and to this day is not part of the European Union. Why is this relevant? Well, like Switzerland has understood independence is essential to building a successful and valuable company, then we should too. But what does that mean? Truly valuable companies do not rely on any one customer, employee, or supplier. If something were to happen to your number 1 supplier or employee, would your business still survive? We've got to get to a place where you can confidently say yes. So how can you achieve neutrality? Make sure one customer represents no more than 15 to 20% of your sales. Ensure one salesperson is not responsible for more than 50 to 60% of sales. And reduce dependence on key suppliers. Many companies have a rule that they have to have at least 2 suppliers for every product, category and service. The next value driver is financial performance. And now I know this one sounds fairly obvious, but factoring in financial performance goes beyond a healthy P&L. Why is financial performance important to driving value? It's simple. The value of your business is directly related to the following: top line revenue and bottom line profit, and the quality of the reporting of those numbers, and ensuring we invest in an independent audit so that those numbers can be trusted and relied upon by others. The next driver is growth potential. This may seem obvious again, but why is the size or potential of your business important? Well, John Warrilow again discovered that the larger the company, the greater the multiple. And that was because a potential purchaser can be confident that it is a consistently growing business, because a buyer is buying future and predictable revenue, and they're buying a future cash flow stream. Ask yourself this: how easy would it be to go into work tomorrow and be able to handle 5 times the work you normally do? The easier it would be to do, the higher the multiple. Buyers want to see the systems and processes in place. This is key to growing your company. So how can you grow further, faster? 2 simple ways: sell more stuff to your existing customers and sell stuff to new customers. An example: selling more stuff to existing customers has driven Coca-Cola sales for numerous years and started when they launched Diet Coke. In 100 years, Coke had never allowed another product to use the name Coca-Cola. It was always just Coca-Cola. Prompted by the switch to low-calorie options by existing consumers, they launched a Diet Coke in 1982 and is now the 3rd highest selling brand in the world. This was the forerunner of many new brands which fueled the Coca-Cola company growth. You'd probably be amazed to know that Coca-Cola now has 500 brands and over 3,500 different beverages. Another example would be expanding into new geographies, whether it's McDonald's rapid expansion from several countries in the 90s to over 119 now, or a combination of selling to new and existing customers, such as Apple's diversification from computers to phones, tablets, watches, and earbuds. Cash flowing through a company is critical. When a buyer buys a business, they write 2 checks, one to buy the business and another to fund the company's working capital. The inverse is also true. The less cash you need, the more valuable your company is. We should always be looking for ways to bring in cash faster and more consistently. How can we even out a cash flow? Well, some of the ways are getting paid faster and paying bills slower. Size of inventory and inventory turns, the faster the better. The lower the amount of stock and the faster it turns. Get creative by coming up with a list for your business of other ways to increase cash flow, such as ancillary sales, leveraging G&A expenses, reducing cost of goods. The last one of get creative ties into our next driver, which is called recurring revenue. Most of us have heard about recurring revenue. John Morrow brought this concept to more people's attention when he published his book in 1971 called The Automatic Customer. And in that book, he took us through the benefits and ways of establishing a subscription-based business. It's probably the easiest way to improve your company's cash flow. But how easy is it to implement a recurring revenue stream into your business? What type of recurring revenue would work for your business? Does it have the potential to continue if you leave? Now, there are about 6 types of recurring revenue. So let's go through them, and I'll start at the bottom with the simplest type. Consumables, such as coffee. So most of us in the past, maybe even now, have bought coffee at our local grocery store or where we go and drink coffee. For in this part of the world, Caribou. The next level is, well, I don't want to keep going out. I'd like to make it at home as well. So you go to sunk money consumables. So you may buy a machine like Keurig Coffee, and then you buy the pods to fill them. Same kind of idea as buying a printer and then buying the cartridges. So it's a sunk money consumable. The next level will be subscriptions. So you may decide to subscribe to Bloomberg info, which gives you the latest stock and what's going on in the markets. However, you want to go to sunk money subscription, the next level, you'd actually buy a terminal from Bloomberg, and that would serve the same data that you've been subscribing to up in a format that's as easy to digest and read. The next level will be auto-renewal subscription. A lot of us use Apple phones, use iCloud subscription, but either for our computer or our phone. And so that would be the best example. It's auto-renewal on a regular basis. The ultimate is probably a contract, a legally binding obligation for a set term. For example, doing ground maintenance for an entire year or tying somebody into a 3-year contract being paid on a quarterly basis. The 6th driver is monopoly control. Warren Buffett has famously said, the ability to control the pricing with a higher profit margin is by building a moat deep and wide around your business. To do this, we need to differentiate our product or service. The more differentiated our product or service, the more customers care about the difference, and the more they care, the more control you have over pricing. The more control you have over pricing, the more valuable the company. Here's an example of that. When Tesla Motors decided to launch into the luxury sedan market in the US, they were looking for differentiators. Design in California wasn't really compelling because people were used to buying cars from all over the world, such as Japan, Germany, Sweden, and even from South Carolina in the States where the BMWs are made. Performance was owned by many other car companies, such as Porsche, BMW, and Lexus. But they found out that zero emissions was very compelling to their core target market. So do you believe you have a monopoly in your industry or market? Could you actually create one? Another value driver that may seem obvious is customer satisfaction. This is so important to company value, but okay, why? Quantified and documented customer satisfaction reflects customers' dedication, their likeliness to return, or make a repeat purchase, and most importantly, the likelihood they will refer you to somebody else, hopefully a future customer. There is well-published research that shows a satisfied customer will tell at least 10 people. In the world of social media, that is now magnified by several hundred, and in fact, 1,000. Fred Reichheld found that most computer companies that were rated highly on customer satisfaction surveys performed no better than those that were rated poorly. In other words, the questions that were being asked were not predictive of growth rates. However, what he did find was that there were 2 questions that, when asked, is predictive of future stream of profit, and he called it the Net Promoter Score. The questions are very simple. Ask your customers using a 0 to 10 scale how likely it is that you would recommend our company to a friend or colleague, and then why. The numerical answer is helpful, but one of the most important things you can do is focus on the responses. Why did they rate you that way? Was there an issue? How was it resolved? This will help enormously in adapting the product or service to gain more customers. These questions can reveal great opportunities to identify your differentiators, provide areas of improvement, and help you become aware of any problems before they spread out of your control, which is very quick and easy, as I said earlier, because of social media. Harley-Davidson, Eventbrite, Google, and Apple are leaders in their industries, and they all are adamant about asking for reviews and feedback using the Net Promoter Score. The resultants survey our clients annually with these exact questions. This process is key to retaining our clients and continuously improving to meet the needs of current and future clients. So now let's look at hub and spoke. We may think that if we as owners know every customer by name, we must be providing excellent service to them. However, it's actually counterintuitive to your process for your customers to come directly to you. Indeed, if you are the hub, everything revolves around you and everyone is coming to you for advice. You are dealing with customers, employees, suppliers, services, and constantly signing things and issuing instructions. So what's the big issue with being the hub in the wheel? If you remove the hub, the business is worthless. Companies that are too reliant on their owner are either deeply discounted or they're worthless. And if you're too stuck in the day-to-day operation of your company, you won't have time to work on planning and building it, such as Jim did in our story at the beginning of this webinar. If you are constantly working in the business, like Molly, and not on it, you won't have time to fulfill the vision by planning it. If you're a solopreneur, this is clearly a different situation for you, as you need to be the face and body of your business while there's just only one of you. How many of you feel like you are the hub? You can break out of the wheel by creating systems employees can follow, automating them as much as possible. Try taking a vacation and seeing what happens when you're not around. As I mentioned earlier, these 8 drivers aren't revolutionary, but it's the compilation of them together and the combining and the understanding of how to leverage them that can really make the business go further, faster. We'd like to provide you with the opportunity to discover what your score is and how you rate yourself on these 8 drivers. It will help you discover what levers you need most and where you should focus to create the biggest impact. You can access the survey by visiting the link above, or if you hang on for a couple of moments, we'll show you how to get started. Thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you have a better understanding of the 8 value drivers that can help you in your business. As I said at the beginning, this is the first in a series called Small Business Solutions, in which we'll be taking you through each of the drivers in more detail so you can see how they work and you could apply them to your business. They help you look at your business a little differently, maybe alter course, and as we return to the new normal, plan to move further, faster, and thrive and sustain over time. I hope you will join us again. Now, I'll hand you back to Katie.
All right, thanks, Peter. All right, so thanks again for tuning into this webinar. I really hope that you got some great information from what Peter had to share. And as he said, there are more coming, so be sure to look out for those emails. For more information on how to get your Value Builder score, you can reach out to Peter directly, or you can hold on for the conclusion of the webinar, as it will take you directly to the landing page, which looks like what we have on the screen here. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.